Glaucus was one of the commanders of the Lycian army during the Trojan War. He ruled Lycia alongside his cousin Sarpedon and led the Lycians after Sarpedon's death. He was grandson of the hero Bellerophon, who had killed the Chimera and tamed Pegasus. During the war, Glaucus exchanged his golden weapons with Diomedes' bronze ones in an act of ancestral friendship. He died in battle when Ajax killed him with his spear. His story began 2 generations before his birth. His grandfather Bellerophon had arrived in Lycia after many adventures. The king of Lycia gave him his daughter Philono as wife and half the kingdom. Bellerophon and Philono had 3 children, Isander, Hippolochus, and Laodamia. Isander died young fighting against the Solymi. Laodamia had a son with Zeus, who was Sarpedon. Hippolochus married and had Glaucus. So Glaucus and Sarpedon were cousins, both grandsons of Bellerophon, and grew up together in the Lycian palace. Glaucus was born when Bellerophon had already fallen into disgrace with the gods. The old hero wandered alone through the fields, avoiding men. But before going mad, Bellerophon had told his grandson the stories of his deeds. He told how he had killed the Chimera, how he had defeated the Amazons, how he had flown on Pegasus. Hippolochus raised Glaucus to be warrior and king. He taught him to use spear and shield, to drive war chariots, to command men in battle. He also taught him about honor and hospitality. He told him about the friendship between Bellerophon and Oeneus of Calydon, how they had exchanged gifts and sworn eternal friendship between their families. When Glaucus grew up, he shared the government of Lycia with Sarpedon. The 2 cousins were like brothers. They had the best lands along the Xanthus River, vineyards and wheat fields. The people honored them because they always fought in the front lines when there was war. Glaucus was known for his courage, but also for his wisdom and justice. Glaucus married and had children in Lycia, though their names were not recorded in the stories. He lived in peace, governing his part of the kingdom, trading with neighboring cities. The Lycians were good warriors, but preferred commerce to war. However, when Troy's call came, Glaucus did not hesitate. Priam asked help from all his allies when the Greeks came with 1,000 ships. Lycia had been Troy's ally for generations. Moreover, if Troy fell, the Greeks would then attack all the cities of Asia Minor. Glaucus gathered his best warriors and sailed to Troy with Sarpedon. In Troy, the Lycians camped near the walls. For 9 years they fought alongside the Trojans. Glaucus participated in many battles. He killed several Greek warriors. Once he saved a group of Trojans who were surrounded. Another time he defended the gates when the Greeks almost entered the city. Glaucus's most famous encounter was with Diomedes in the 10th year of the war. The 2 warriors met on the battlefield. Diomedes asked who Glaucus was, if he was mortal or god, because he did not want to fight against a god after having wounded Aphrodite and Ares. Glaucus responded by telling the history of his lineage. He spoke of Sisyphus, of ancient Glaucus who was devoured by his own horses, of Bellerophon and his deeds. Then Diomedes lowered his spear. His grandfather Oeneus had been Bellerophon's friend. They had exchanged gifts of hospitality. Therefore, Diomedes and Glaucus were hereditary friends. The 2 warriors climbed down from their chariots. They embraced in the middle of the battlefield. They swore never to fight each other and to avoid each other in battles. Then they exchanged armor as a sign of friendship. But Glaucus lost because he gave his golden armor, worth 100 oxen, for Diomedes' bronze armor, worth 9 oxen. The other warriors mocked Glaucus for the bad exchange, but Glaucus felt no regret. Honor and friendship were worth more than gold. Besides, showing such generosity increased his reputation. From then on, Glaucus fought with bronze armor like any common warrior. When Sarpedon was wounded by Tlepolemus, Glaucus protected him and carried him from the battlefield. He cared for his cousin until he recovered. The two continued fighting together, leading the Lycians in each battle. Glaucus admired Sarpedon's courage, and Sarpedon trusted Glaucus's wisdom. During the great assault on the Greek camp, when Hector almost burned the ships, Glaucus led the Lycians on the flank. While Sarpedon attacked the wall from front, Glaucus looked for weak points in the defense. He killed several Greek defenders and helped breach the wall. But then Teucer, the best Greek archer, shot an arrow at him. The arrow pierced Glaucus's arm, breaking the tendons. Glaucus had to retreat from battle. He could not hold his shield or spear. He bandaged the wound, but the pain was terrible, and his arm became useless. When Patroclus killed Sarpedon, Glaucus was wounded and could not fight. Sarpedon, while dying, asked him to protect his body. Glaucus despaired because his wounded arm prevented him from fulfilling his cousin's last wish. Then he prayed to Apollo. Apollo heard his prayer. The god instantly healed Glaucus's arm. The pain disappeared and the tendons rejoined. Glaucus took his weapons and ran to defend Sarpedon's body. He called all the Lycians and Trojans. Even Hector came to help. The battle for the body was fierce. Glaucus fought like never before, killing several Greeks who tried to strip the corpse. But the Greeks were many and strong. In the end, Apollo had to intervene to rescue Sarpedon's body and take it to Lycia. After Sarpedon's death, Glaucus became the sole commander of the Lycians. It was a heavy responsibility. The Lycians had lost their best warrior. Some wanted to return home, but Glaucus convinced them to stay and keep fighting for Troy. Glaucus led the Lycians in the following battles. When Achilles returned to war after Patroclus' death, Glaucus tried to keep his men firm, but Achilles was terrible in his fury. The Lycians, like all Troy's allies, retreated before him. During one of the battles after Achilles' return, Glaucus encountered Ajax the Great. The two warriors faced each other with spears. Ajax was bigger and stronger. His spear pierced Glaucus's shield and breastplate. The point entered deep into Glaucus's chest. Glaucus fell to the ground. His Lycians tried to rescue his body, but Ajax drove them back. Glaucus died far from Lycia, like his cousin Sarpedon. The Lycians finally recovered his body and cremated it with honors. His ashes were sent to Lycia to be buried beside the Xanthus River. Without Sarpedon and without Glaucus, the Lycians lost heart. Some continued fighting until the war's end. Others returned to Lycia before Troy fell. The Lycian contingent, which had been the strongest of the allies, dispersed without their leaders. Glaucus was remembered for the armor exchange with Diomedes. The Greeks told that story as an example of honor and friendship that transcends war. They also remembered him as a brave warrior who fought to the end for a city that was not his own. The Lycians remembered him as a just king and wise commander. In Lycia, they built monuments for Glaucus and Sarpedon. The two cousins who had governed together in life were honored together in death. Their names remained united in the stories of the Trojan War.